Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar here from Ravensbourne University London, and we're going to talk today about your experience on fashion accessory design and textile futures. I'm Alexa Pullman, I'm the course leader, and I'm going to talk you through the 3 years here at our university and what you're going to do individually but also in a group. So fashion accessory design and textile futures has just undergone some changes, and we are quite happy to say that we have extended the course into textile futures. Our first focus, of course, is and will be fashion accessories, and it's a big segment of the market that is currently growing and has seen a lot of interest from the industry. The reason why we now are expanding into textile futures is because we have realized that materials and textiles have massively influenced this part of the fashion industry. And as a practitioner myself, I know that materials will actually shape the future of this market, and therefore we want to equip you with knowledge in both, especially because these two fields are really working hand in hand. So if we start looking at the structure of the course, I'm going to introduce you first of all to our teaching staff. So on the top you can see me. I'm Alexa Pullman, as said before. I'm the course leader, and I am a practitioner, but also am teaching on the MA in Wearable Futures here in Ravensbourne. And then we have Liz Chukachlu, who is the senior lecturer in this course, and she actually is also a practitioner. Her specialism lies within footwear, and she's currently also doing her PhD at London College of Fashion in future manufacturing. So you can see that both of us have a strong focus on where the future of this market lies. And as a third addition to the course, we have Sabine Roth, another senior lecturer, and she really comes from a strong textiles and mixed media background, but also has her own jewelry label. So together, I think we cover pretty much everything that could necessarily be covered in this really interesting and exciting field of the fashion industry. Well, it's a long title, but say what? Fashion accessory design is surely a part of the industry that has become, as I said, hugely important. The reason why we stress that and why it is so important for us, for you to be aware of this course, is because when you come out of college, you normally would just want to do fashion design. Now today there is a specialization taking place within this part of the industry where we have not just a fashion designer, we have a fashion accessory designer, we have fashion promotion, we have fashion buying and brand management. So fashion is one big term, but it really has all of these subcategories, and this one is surely one that you should be interested in. Because accessories definitely mean obsession. Obsession in a way that we see in many parts of the market, and therefore the big industry players actually really start focusing in on it. So not only do we have youngsters probably in your age being quite hooked on brands such as Supreme, who have drops of products every month, and you see queues of 6 hours, people standing in line to get the next product. But also do we have, for example, a very old and traditional brand such as Hermes, the Birkin bag, which you can sometimes have to wait for up to 6 years to get the product from. Now, this is about the product itself, but of course accessories also really reflect the icon within our society. I'm sure you all know who this is, but I'm just going to point out anyway. It's Lady Gaga, and she's wearing a headpiece by a very famous British designer. And I think we can see that this is basically one of the major ways that we use accessories to actually stylize and iconize ourselves. And another one that probably all of you know, this one is a shoe designed by Kanye West. So you probably know the name already. It's the Yeezys, and they have really changed the impact of accessories on the industry, not only because the materials are so very special and the textiles used in them that we see often used within especially the sneaker area has really revolutionized the way that we look at sneakers. So together, textiles and accessories do mean innovation, and that's the field that we in this course in particular do focus on. I have one example here of, for example, the eyewear that actually is made 100% out of bioplastic, so it's recycled plastic and it comes from plants. And this sort of research and innovation in the materials field is something that we are super excited about. Another example for materials and textiles that have revolutionized the market is this leather called Pinatex, and basically it's not animal leather, but it's made out of pineapple leftovers of the food industry. And another of these innovations that we see recently happening, especially within the wearables market, is of course the focus on prosthetics and body enhancements. So you can see already it's a very wide spectrum we are offering, and I think the imagination cannot reach any further than this. Together, accessories and textiles hence also mean jobs. So if we look, for example, into one major UK player, Burberry, who I personally have worked for and can tell from the insights, accessories are really a sector that is driving the profits for all of these big luxury brands. So that means the market is growing within this field, and this is one of the reasons that Ravensbourne has decided to actually have this course a couple of years ago. Another thing that should be really positive on your list is that, of course, there aren't that many other direct competitor courses. And that means there is very few graduates that actually will compete with you for your jobs. In that respect, I can just tell you, we just returned from Graduate Fashion Week, where 4 of our graduates showed on the catwalk, and 6 of our graduates were approached by Givenchy right after, and they offered them to come and work with them. So our philosophy is really focusing on the student, and this is actually student work by India Martin. She has been super excited about 3D print, and you can see that this piece that looks rather traditional still really reflects our philosophy, in the sense that we have been working on getting our students up to speed in regards to knowing everything about digital production and making it look just as high class as everything that has been handcrafted earlier. Overall, it's a materials and future-driven course, and we have a really unique kind of way of looking at things, and in particular at accessories in the realm of the other courses out there. So what our students do is that they really focus on conceptual creativity, but also they are really commercially aware. And we introduce them constantly to new market opportunities such as future craft, sustainability, but especially digital manufacture. Our teaching is very much comprising of practical workshops, so you have to be a hands-on person to be succeeding in this course, but of course we will help you in any respect of that, and we will ask you to be manipulating materials, to print, to knit, to work with textiles, but with all kinds of hard materials as well. And we have workshops that facilitate for you to explore the whole range of these. Then there is personal tutorials, and because we have very small class sizes, it's actually wonderful because we have a quite familiar way of dealing with each other. So you will have a lot of one-to-one tutorials, and you will see that you will actually learn from not only your own tutorials, but the tutorials that you overhear that we have with other students. And of course, we have external lecturers who come from the industry, who will tell you about what's happening out there, how you can best prepare for your future profession, and how the things are going in regards to your particular specialism. We also do group trips and visits. So for example, our students last year were offered the opportunity to go to Sri Lanka, but also we to look at actually the sustainability that's championing out there. And then we have visits to London brands such as Pentland, who then also took in one of our students in their internship. Also very special about Ravensbourne is that we have specialist software and machinery which is for free for you to use. So in year one and from year one on, you will have access to programs such as Photoshop, Illustrator or InDesign. And you will also be taught in Rhinoceros in order to understand how to 3D print or 3D mill your pieces. So the picture on the right hand side here actually shows work by a recent graduate, and she's been really intensively working towards her practice in regards of 3D printing, but also wood carving and milling. And the other aspect of the course that has been growing so important is now supported by a materials library. So we have this wonderful material connection library, which normally is only accessible if you're an industry player. And it's situated here in Ravensbourne. You can go in, you can look at the materials, you can feel them, you can understand their composition and their properties. And that really puts you out there in regards to knowing about what's going on in that part of the market currently. So we have, for example, got a lot of industry approaching us saying, oh, it would be great to visit your library. And we then have to say, no, we're sorry, this is for our students exclusive. And that gives you the extra special when you go out there. So now we're going to look at the different years and what you're going to do individually in each of these years. In year one, you will first of all be introduced to the world of accessories, but also to the world of textiles and materials. So this is a sketchbook by a first-year student, and she's been looking at the world of volume to start with, and has then created a wonderful final piece. So the sketchbook will of course be a way for you to explore your ideas, to understand how to design and to document all the prototypes you're working on. You will then develop them not just in Illustrator, but also in various programs in order to be able to produce a really good prototype in the end. So this is her final piece. And you can see, I think, for her first term, first year project, this is a super successful outcome, and we are very proud of her. In the second term, first year, you will then focus closely on textiles and materials. So you will start developing your own prints, you will be etching and laser cutting, and you will definitely come up with a whole materials library of your own designs that you then can apply to your own products. So Young-un, who has been producing this work, is definitely one of the best examples in regards to also having spent so much time in the workshops developing his own materials, and was super excited about his final outcome himself. In the third term, it's all about then creating your own prototype, but also creating your own collection. So you can see that you've really started to develop your own ideas. You have also been taught in how to produce a whole kind of key feature collection, so that the whole collection together will make sense as one. And you have highlight pieces, but you have also very commercially available pieces. In the overview of that, you will have to produce a specification pack, another thing that will help you to enter the industry. And the industry is really looking at whether you can actually produce a product not only in regards to its design, but they will also ask you to produce a product in regards to really delivering all the details so that this can be sent off to production to overseas or wherever your production place would be. So not only will you have to specify the colors as Pantones, you would also have to specify dimensions and all the little details that your design would encompass. And that all has been produced within the first year, so you're actually ready to enter your second year. And this is the final outcome of this first project, end of first year. So in your second year, and that's why it's so important that we get you to that level in the first year already, you will have a set of industry projects, live briefs, but also collaborations. And at the end of year two, you will even go and have a work placement. So currently we have students who are reporting back to us from Victor and Rolf, from Iris van Herpen. So there is a whole set of work placements that take place, and we help you, of course, to prepare for that. But first of all, in the second year, you will have the term 1 creative collaboration, and collaboration in general is a term that we are quite keen on in Ravensbourne. So you will have the chance to collaborate with one of the other courses, and you will be able to then, or we did this year at least, exhibit the work at an external venue where we had a lot of industry visiting and great feedback from them. They were all really impressed by the work of our students at that level. In term 2, we have an industry partner who's been focusing on eyewear. And this brief has so far been one of the most successful ones, and we always received really good feedback from the industry partner here as well. Students not only kind of excel at understanding what a brand means in that context, they also excel in understanding where their own strengths lies. And I think that's sort of the first step into the industry, that you know who you are, but also where your specialism is. So in term 3, as earlier mentioned, when you then go into work placement, you'll have destinations such as Iris van Herpen, Tati Divine, Victor and Rolf, or Alexander, all of which are high valued brands within the market, and I'm sure you all heard of them. So it's actually where the dream sort of starts to come true for our students. They go out there, they apply to brands that they would love to work for later on, and the preparation they get from that, of course, is something that will help them later on and might even have them return to those brands in hindsight. So one of the most successful students actually, and you would not expect that, but she, out of her eyewear project, went on to collaborate with our industry partner from the eyewear project in her work placement. And whilst there, she actually designed eyewear that then went onto the shelves of Topshop. So you can imagine being in your second year and finding your own designs in the shelves of Topshop is a fantastic feeling, and one that also made us very proud and made us understand that we must have been doing the right job. In year 3, it's all about finding your own specialism, because of course you're not just designing a product, you're actually designing your own future. And this year we had a particularly successful cohort. They have, as I said, been approached by Givenchy right after. 4 of them made it onto the catwalk. And what really is your aim in that year is, as I said earlier, to 100% define your specialism, understand who you are and who you want to be. So you will produce a professional and high standard collection, but also alongside that, you will produce a portfolio that will launch your career in the fashion industry. Of course, if suitable, you will get to show your work on the catwalk. Not all students necessarily find that accessories do feature well on the catwalk. They prefer to have an exhibition, and that's also an opportunity that you will be given. Many students have then, in regards to their final collection, won competitions, been shortlisted, and a lot of them, as I said, have been contacted right away by industry. So current graduate employments from the last year cohort were not just June, but ASOS or Ralph and Russo, as well as Kurt Geiger. And I think that just speaks for the fact that when you are looking at the fashion market as a fashion accessory and textile futures designer, you actually will have a whole set of industry looking out for someone with your specialism. Because the fashion designer in itself, of course, is an exciting role, but the fashion accessory and textile futures designer is one that will be really needed and less competitive in regards to the other graduates that come out of these courses. Here's a little statement from one of our graduates, which I think is really nice. She is a graduate from 2017 who's gone on to June, and she's now a design assistant there. And what she says is, where I design footwear and accessory, and I conduct research for the design team. So she's really doing exactly what she wanted to do. Looking back, she's really happy she chose this course, and she says that this degree marks the beginning of her career and has prepared me and helped me achieve everything I have so far. So again, this makes us, of course, very happy because we think we've done a good job and helped her to get exactly to where she wants to be. If I sum up, you can see that we have a whole set of different products. It's not just one thing, it's many things at once. And it's a really exciting time for us in regards to the new specialism we have introduced, because we've seen our students really excel on that. They all were really keen to work with different materials. So you can work with plastics, you can work with 3D print, you can work with recycled materials, you can work with leather, you can work with any sort of new formed material that you might have invented yourself. And translated, that means we are looking at bags, at footwear, just as much as we are looking at scarves, at gadgets, at belts. So there is really no end to it, and it's up to you to define whatever body adornment or accessory you might have in mind. So if you are interested in working in 3D, if you like to create shapes and volumes, if you like style, fashion, product, and of course design, and in particular if you have an interest in new technologies such as laser cutting or 3D printing, and of course if you really love and like to experiment with materials, then this is the course that you should be looking at. And we are always looking for someone who might be pushing the boundaries. So if you have any questions, please do talk to us. There is a field appearing now where you should be able to write down whatever is on your mind. And I'm going to be very happy to answer them for you right away. Let's see if we can get any questions. I know that you probably all need to just digest for the moment. Oh, here's one question now. So the question that I have is, do students get to choose their own scope for the final major project? That's a very good question. So I think the last year is not just exciting for the students, it's also very exciting for us, because we help them to really find and define what their final major project is. And yes, to make it short, you get to choose your own scope. So we do ask you whether you might want to focus on becoming a ready-to-wear designer for accessory design, or rather want to be more innovative in your materials. That's one pathway that you can choose, but also we really know you by then so well, because we've been nurturing you over the last 2 years by then, that we can really discuss with you what your main focus should be. I hope that made that question clear. Are there any other questions that might come up? I think I've been talking quite a lot, so probably I've answered it. Oh yeah, here's another one about the class size. So the class size is particularly interesting with this course, and I'm very pleased to be leading a course that is so positive, because in that sense we have mostly got around 15 students per class, and I think that's really special. If you look at the fashion cohorts, they often extend up to 60 students, and I like to really be having this very personal relationship with all of my students. And of course Sabina and Liz oversee the first and the second year, and I'm mostly meeting the third year, but I'm still in all the assessments and all the presentations that first and second years do. So I really can see where you're heading until I will teach you in your third year. Oh yeah, here's another question. So could you please talk more about course collaborations? Okay, so I think our students, given that Ravensbourne has this open plan teaching, but also a very strong kind of interdisciplinary kind of characteristic in its outset. A lot of my students have actually collaborated with not just film and photography, but also with fashion promotion, with graphic design and animation students. So it's something that seems to happen naturally, and I think the best of my students have really excelled in doing so. So one of them, for example, has currently collaborated with Double Me, which is a technology kind of partner that is here in the building, and they helped her to create this incredible experience of her collection so that you could watch it in VR, so that you would wear one of the Google Cardboard with your phone in it and you could see her whole collection in a 360 environment. So that was probably one of the most successful collaborations. But there's many others to mention, and I think especially in your second year there is the chance now with our new curriculum where we will have electives and you can choose which course you do want to collaborate with. And there's one more question here actually. So this one is asking about what to include in your portfolio when you apply to this course. That's of course a very important question, and I think we want to see as much as possible in regards to your creativity. We want to see not only that you've been working maybe on a fashion foundation, we want to see if you've been writing poems, we want to see if you've been making films, we'd love to see if you've been developing materials and textiles, and of course if you have a particular focus on artifacts or body adornments or accessories and you might not even have realized that yet, maybe revisit your portfolio, look at it again, and possibly elaborate on that part in particular. We do get a lot of fashion applications who we review, and then we decide to offer the student a place on the Accessories and Textile Futures course, because students might not even be aware that that's a possibility yet. Yeah. All right, I think that's it, and I don't see any other questions. So thank you for listening in, and please be in touch in case you have any more questions.